Recently, Hayao Miyazaki was awarded a very well-deserved honorary Oscar for his contribution to cinema, and it's arrived at an interesting period for Studio Ghibli. There's an uncertainty of whether they will continue to make more movies, and Miyazaki has said that The Wind Rises will be his final film. However, it's not the first time he's made that announcement. In the 90s, he stated that Princess Mononoke would be his swan song, and then he went on to enchant us with the likes of Spirited Away and Ponyo. Today I'm going to look at Princess Mononoke, which has all the Miyazaki hallmarks, and then some. Princess Mononoke takes place in an ancient magical past of Japan, where the forest is frequently at war with the humans. Our main hero, Ashitaka, is cursed by a spirit that consumes him, and he must venture out into the world to find a cure, which finds himself in the middle of this battle. Like a lot of Miyazaki movies, there's a lot of imagination on display in Princess Mononoke, particularly in the beings we meet in the forest. I especially love these little bobblehead-like spirits called kodamas. Throughout the movie, we also see the conflict between San, a warrior raised by wolves, and the industrial Lady Eboshi. What's interesting about their dynamic is that both are so focused on their ways that they don't stop to think about how they can peacefully coexist. San is certainly right about keeping the forest alive, but Eboshi, while self-centered, is working to protect her village and its citizens. Both resort to violent means to get what they want, and that only creates more war rather than a better solution. Both forces are corrupted by their own prejudices, but both characters are understandable in how they feel. Miyazaki has always been great about not having the archetypical heroes and villains we might normally associate with stories like this one, Princess Mononoke being a major example of this. Another aspect usually expected from Miyazaki is also present in Princess Mononoke, and that is its lush animation. Of course, there are the human character designs we associate with Studio Ghibli, but the spirits and animals littering the forest are incredibly drawn, and the background art is stunning, with the artists actually location scouting, as if doing a live-action feature and taking a lot of inspiration from real mountains and forests in Japan. The action and war scenes are well executed, with Ashitaka's movements in particular being well choreographed, especially when shooting a bow. And when I said this movie was violent, yeah, I'm not joking. Miyazaki does not shy away from showing the horrors of war, and immediately begins the movie showing that this won't be an innocent story like in My Neighbor Totoro, but rather something more serious. And even with the fantasy elements, it proved shockingly realistic in its depiction of violence. What's that? Animation is only for children? Sorry, I can't hear you over the gore and gruesomeness. The subject of environmentalism is always tricky, especially when handled in animated films. There's a stereotype that environmental messages are preachy, but I don't think so. Now, in something like Ferngully, The Last Rainforest, where it's the only thing on the filmmakers' minds, then it comes across as preachy in your face. However, then you have movies like Princess Mononoke, Rio 2, and The Lorax, where the story and setting make the environmental concerns explored by the filmmakers a natural fit. While Rio 2 seeks to show a real depiction of what's currently going on in the Amazon, and The Lorax uses it to explore its social commentary and the excess of greed that is in all of us, Princess Mononoke tackles the subject by showing the devastation that can come when we're in battle with nature. The progression of human society and nature can coexist peacefully. There needs to be a certain balance when we're cutting down trees, for example. There are portions of land we need to keep sacred and untouched, whether it's a natural park, or forests like the Amazon, or the jungles of Africa. When building our homes, we should not derail the homes made by animals. There's a reason certain creatures are on the endangered species list, and our obsession with ruining the environment is a major reason. Through its story of war, Princess Mononoke seeks to make us think about how we can help on advancing mankind while also respecting the animals who were on Earth before us. Before leaving traps for squirrels and mice, maybe think about how they were there first, long before we built our houses on their living space. Now, as much as I really like Princess Mononoke, I do have to admit it's not one of my favorite Miyazaki films. I actually rank both this and Howl's Moving Castle as my least favorite of his works. But that's only a credit to his talents as a filmmaker that I think these are the weakest movies he's done, and they're still very good. To be honest, my main issues stem from its lead character and pacing. I don't think Ashitaka is all that interesting a protagonist, as I find San and Eboshi more complex and emotionally involving characters. But that comes out of Miyazaki just seeming to do a better job at writing female characters than male ones. Also, I find there are portions in the movie where it's a little slow. This hasn't been as bothersome on repeat viewings, and it's normal for Miyazaki to make his movies a little over 2 hours, but I don't think Princess Mononoke has the same briskness as Spirited Away, or even The Wind Rises for that matter. However, those are minor issues. As a whole, Princess Mononoke is still a beautifully realized and imaginative work of art. There's also the question that always arises with Japanese animation, about whether it's best to watch the movie dubbed or with subtitles. What I tend to do with Miyazaki movies is I watch them first dubbed and then view it subtitled. There are anime I've started watching dubbed and then switched to subtitles after a while because I found it so unbearable, like Akira. However, I've never had that problem with Miyazaki's films, as Disney does seem to try their best to respect the original script and voices when translating the films into English. While I am using the English dub for convenience sake, I do prefer the Japanese version over the celebrity-filled dub of Princess Mononoke. But the latter is not a bad way to watch the film by any means. The Japanese voices just fit the setting better in my opinion. In conclusion, Princess Mononoke is another strong work from the master of Japanese animation. Honestly, I think Hayao Miyazaki has done so many great films, and all are worth watching, for either the first time or multiple viewings. And despite his claims, maybe Miyazaki-san has more movies on the horizon. After all, he did make more after this film. See you next time.